Okay, so now you're in step 5 of the blog article that's referenced in the description. Normally, you have successfully set up your Stripe Webhook and you managed to connect and receive data from Stripe. So we're going to review that very quickly and then we'll show you how everything works. In Stripe, you go to the products area, you go then to lifetime plan to comment or whatever product you created. So I'm going to try for this one. This is just a test product I've created so that we can test together how everything works. Then you'll go to payment link, then you'll go to copy, and you can paste that here. So as you can see, you can then add two options in the parameter. The first one is pre-filled email, which is basically the email of your customer. And the second one is client reference ID, which is the customer ID. I put something of your customer. So this is for you to cross-reference with your database. We're going to show like how it works with payment because it's the easiest way with a Stripe checkout for the demo, but it would work exactly the same for other systems and other events from the Stripe webhooks. So I'm going to process payment. So it tells me, okay, thank you for your payment. And what we're going to say is, so you can see in the demo, we have a new payment successful just right now. And the way it works, we have been notified. So in the history section, and you see the event was successful, and we have the message with the customer ID I passed as a client referenced ID before. So we have successfully received the webhook and the customer data. So how this all works is very simple. So you will see in the system. So if you go here and have a look at the data, what we receive from Stripe is in the Ideta API body. So this is the whole object we receive from Stripe. So this is all the data. So for example, what's been the event, the price, the card payment, the payment link, things like that. So you receive a lot of information, the amount of the payment, and the client reference ID we mentioned before. So if you want to have a closer look on your own, you can copy and paste it into some editor, and you'll be able to check that. And then for some security reasons, so what Stripe does, it also sends headers. So you can find them, the webhook headers in the Ideta API headers, and you can see there is a signature. So this is the signature we receive from Stripe, and this is for security reasons, and we need to decode it and make sure it's actually Stripe that sent this data. So as you can see, if you go to edit, so you'll have a look at the workflow we built in order to go this far. That's the steps you took in this article basically led to making everything work. So for example, here the Stripe decoder. So when you added your Stripe secret key and your Stripe endpoint secret key, that was to make sure we can actually decode, as I mentioned to you, the signature I showed you in the step before. So once the origin of the message is confirmed, we have two options. So it's Event Manager 1, so we see what is happening, or Stripe decoding failed. If these two information are not filled or are incomplete or invalid, it will go to this step. So you can check this step either by clicking here, okay? So it says success false, and the message associated is Stripe decoding failure. And the way you can also see it is via the editor. So in the editor, so the blue part is the middle is your current step, okay? The steps here are the steps that come from this one, and the step above are the steps that lead here, okay? So here it's the start because it's the webhook, it's Stripe that starts this bubble. And so we have two options, either Stripe decoding failed. We made it happen here. So this is when the data was incomplete, okay? Or if it succeeds, it will go to Event Manager 1. What does Event Manager 1? It checks, so in Ideta API body type, so it checks what we receive from Stripe. So you can find it here in the event here. As I said, Ideta API body, and you can see in the event there is a type, you see checkout session completed. So because Stripe sends many events, many types of events, and maybe you don't want to check them all, to use them all. So you have types and you want maybe a different behavior depending on the type you receive. So this is what we do here. If we have checkout session completed, so which is what you can see there, then we extract the data from the payload we received, or if it's not the type we received because we received some other event, we will go to another message, to another step, which says event not managed. Okay, so we're going to back to maps and go back to the event manager and see what happens in case of success. So in case of success, what we do is we use this operation. So these are operations. So you have many operations, simple operation, and basically it's many of the common JavaScript operations that you can use to extract information, manipulate objects and arrays. But what we're going to use is get a value. So what get a value does is it's quite simple. It takes an object. So the webhook we receive from Stripe, Ideta API body, and we extract data, object, client, reference ID. Okay. So if we go back to the history of what happened, so we can see what it means. So in Ideta API body, we can see data, object, and client reference ID, and we see we have ID, etc. Okay. So once you've done that, you go back to Event Manager, extract data, and let's have a look. And we do the same thing with customer details to extract the email, and data object amount total to know the amount of payment that happened. And we're going to check, what we're going to check now is if there is a reference ID. So this is the information we passed in the link at the beginning, and we're going to test the reference ID. If there is a reference ID, this is successful, everything happened and worked well, and I will be able to, for example, map information or write data in my database, push data into Firebase, for example, to say, okay, you can change the plan associated with this person, or you can start this process. Okay, if there is no reference ID, then there was an issue because you won't be able to link your payment to your customer data. So this is, you will get this message, no reference ID found, and the success is false. You can, of course, change the behavior, and it's quite simple. So depending on what you want to do, let's say you're in test reference ID, if you want to create a new bubble, you just have to click on it and select some other bubble, or you can create a new one. Okay, so we have videos, and we will add the link in the description that explain a little bit the different options. But very quickly, we have, you can use Zapier to send information, you can do additional operations, you can use the real-time database or Firestore, for example, or redirect to but in case of Webhook, it's not going to be very useful. But for example, you can write data in Firebase real-time database very easily. So you can just write the information. And so I'm going to say, okay. And you just have to write your database URL, where you want to set it, and connect your account, of course. And you're going to have, like, you're going to be able to say and tell, okay, Stripe sent me a webhook, and I'm going to write data in my database. We have a short video that shows exactly that. We'll also put it into the description if you want to see how it works and how everything is being set up. But I think as a first explanation, it's quite clear now what you all can do and how everything works. So make sure to play around with the tool, and you can basically, what I would recommend is starting from success instead of the success bubble that is just sending the message of success. What you can do is, for example, change your process. You can make, for example, an API call to your database or to some software, or you can connect to Zapier to start a process, or you can do both, and you can write directly in your database. So that avoids creating an API. So these are the things that you can do with our tool. Do not hesitate to ask questions. We're available at support@ideta.io. and we'll be very happy to help you setting everything up. So enjoy, and we hope you make it work and you have a good moment. So enjoy and have a successful Stripe Webhook implementation.